CEO Academy, Bristol, 13th of October, that's today. Okay. Can I click or will you click for me? Okay. Okay. I mean, if you click the first one, so it's a story of a trip that I took to Japan and South Korea some time ago, a couple of years ago, and I went to see a really big kind of consumer electronics manufacturer in Japan. For those people who've never been to Japan, if you want a meeting with Japanese businessmen, it takes about half an hour to get through the kind of pleasantries you exchange gifts, business cards, Annie-san, all that kind of stuff. So eventually I got to ask this guy from one of the biggest manufacturers that there are on the planet. I said, so how's it going with radio? And he looked at me and he talked to his colleagues on one side and then to another, and he said, the marketing department told me, Mr. Parfitt, that the radio feature is no longer a requirement. I thought, so, I thought that might be, you know, I really enjoyed the quiz, and I really enjoyed kind of that nostalgic moment of thinking about the theme tunes, of thinking about those great broadcasters. It's radio, I love radio, even the UK theme. I downloaded it. So I love it. So you have to think about then what's the future hold for radio. And if we click on, I will show you a little bit about the thoughts that I have. So there are a number of things. I mean, the first is that when radio was launched in September 1967, nobody could possibly have imagined the technical and technology advances over the next 43 years. So we're going to click on broadband. They say by 2012-13, by the Olympic Games, will be 80-odd% rollout throughout the UK. This is a picture of my kitchen drawer at home, and in it, I call it the charger drawer. I don't know if you've got one. It's full of old chargers that if you don't know which mobile phone or which device they belong to. This is my daughter's chargers. There's a tangle of them, and they kind of have done this in a very, very short period of time. I haven't got her an iPhone yet, but when I made this presentation, that was an iPhone. Of course, that's way, way out of date. It needs to be an iPhone 4. She's not getting one. But what is extraordinary is that Nokia, you know, you could text and you could call. And you can play Snake. In the App Store, you can do virtually anything. You can find yourself a Starbucks on the street in a city that you don't know by just tilting the thing and kind of looking around. Why you don't want to do that, I don't know, but you can. So let's go on. That little waving line shows the increase in the use of social networking sites over the past 4 years, which have, 3 years rather, which have increased fourfold by 400%, largely driven by Facebook. And the next slide shows, and this is a slight leap of mine to show what's happened to radio in that time. And if you click, you'll see a rather disturbing chart. And again. So what it shows, and again, is that young listeners, young audiences, compared to where they were 5 years ago, are listening to the radio for around about between 10 and 20% less in hours terms. Now, it hasn't affected reach because you still join the radio station for the breakfast show, but the amount of time you say. So radio is being eroded, particularly amongst young people, by use of other digital means. So we'll move on. I'm going to scoot through this. So we have DAB, maybe we'll get to talk about DAB later, and we've sold in the UK around about 10 million radios. However, click again and you see the sales of iPods around the world. This is a really old chart. So we've got 10 million DABs, we've got, can't remember, 150 million iPods, and that was 2008, I think. So a huge sale. So we click again. This is what I like, it's called the Screen Ager. And this is my house, this is my life, it's YouTube, it's Facebook. I think I'm making the point that there is a real and a very particular kind of threat to conventional radio in these terms. And we're going to click again. And I just want to talk about radio in a second. I didn't come back to my hometown to show off about radio. but it is, I think, quite remarkable. Right, no, so I don't become a shop about anyone. The fact is that after 43 years, it's still reaching 46% of all 15 to 24-year-olds in Britain every week. As an audience of close to 13.5 million people. A remarkable thing has happened. We've worked really hard over the past 5 years, 10 years to really try to understand what's happening in that audience and do something about it. So if we click on, keep going, because I want to hand that one. But this one, Moyles on an effing horse. This was the advert that never quite made it to the airwaves, and it was a really fantastic brand ad for Radio 1, which was with the band Muse, some of our listeners playing air guitar on with kind of brooms. I know, but it looked absolutely fabulous, and they kind of morphed Christmas onto an effing horse. Anyway, it made it to air and bits, but that's another story. But I think the point about I need to show Chris, but not just Chris, but Fern, and I've read some of the stuff that these guys have done with the internet on hard. You have to make sure that you have a multi-platform strategy in radio these days. So Chris, okay, so he reaches 8 million every week on the air, but he's got 500,000 followers on Twitter. His YouTube videos regularly do kind of 150, 200,000 or more. Friends on Facebook, Radio 1, Facebook, kind of 750 to 1 million friends, I wish. And, podcast downloads. I even cheekily put his Channel 4 quiz on there. I don't know much radio people, if it was television people, I wouldn't go on there, but it helps present the brand that is Chris Wallace and Radio. I think it's just I suppose it's my clue to what do you have to do then on the radio these days to compete in this digital space. And if you click on the, if you go back, you click on the black space, you might see Cheryl doing something. And that'll probably be her. Yeah. So I think the point is about, what's Radio 1 doing making videos? Well, actually, if you kind of looked at a heat map of our little HQ in London and you said, 10 years ago, how much video material came out of that building? It'd probably be 0. If you ask the question now, how much video comes out of that building? It's acres of it. Every day, every moment. We've trained our people to use the Z1, to use Final Cut Pro, to upload, and we have a unit now that can do a really decent job of filming Cheryl in the light lounge. So it's a multi-platform, multi-dimensional world that we're in. We don't know the answers. We're just trying hard to keep radio and Radio 1 as a brand alive and kicking in a very, very new world that we're in. So the last little cheeky slide is if I was going back to Japan now, I would say to the guy, marketing intelligence, Sam, that the radio app is an absolute must-have pre-loaded feature. So I feel very positive and very confident that there is a future that we can engage in, but we can't stand still, and that's what Radio 1 is doing. A lot of work in this area for the whole industry, not just for the BBC, but for colleagues in the commercial sector as well. That's my final. I didn't get a glare or a rugby tackle. So should we get on with the Q&A? I hope that's interesting.